get to it. I think we're recording, so there we go. Yeah. So yeah, guys, this will be our first lesson. It says section 1-1, variables and expressions. So this will be one of, I think, 4 lessons, possibly only 3 that we cover in this chapter. So it's a really short and sweet kind of deal. We'll probably finish with a quiz over it sometime next week. We won't finish with like a big test or a project over this short chapter. These are just some, kind of fundamental skills that you'll use throughout the year. Not really enough to test you over. So if you are watching this video from home and you're following along from home, I would say that we are having some trouble with the Pearson Realize stuff. So don't worry about any of that for right now. I'm going to try to get that sorted out. One thing, guys, and now I'm talking to kind of everybody here, that I was going to have you use Realize for today was to get definitions for these words, because I am thinking we're going to start doing a vocab section, but we'll hold off on that until we can get everybody into the textbook, okay? It'll just take too much time to pass those out and do all that. I'd rather you have just be able to log into the textbook and look them up real quick. Okay, so we'll hold off on that, but you'll have these notes and you'll be able to look back and see which vocab terms you need and stuff. All right. Anyways, we'll go ahead and get to it. So our learning target for this lesson is basically, it says after this lesson, we want to be able to write algebraic expressions. And I added a little bit to that. If you look on the board up there, it says I can write an algebraic expression given a verbal phrase. So that's what we're working on. I give you words like the sum of x and 2, and you can write it out as x plus 2, that kind of thing. So this is a really kind of a basic lesson. That said, let me know if you have questions as we go. So here we go. You guys get ready to write, and I'll do, and then you'll do, and then we'll check. Okay. So I'm looking at 1A. It says 32 more than a number n. All right. So more than would be what operation you think? You can just blurt it out if you know it. Addition, right? So that could be in the order we see it, 32 plus n. And I would have you write this down because it is good to know this with addition. We could also write that as n plus 32. And usually you actually would write variable first. So know that those mean the same thing. Because addition, order doesn't matter because it has what we call the commutative property. Order doesn't matter. 1 plus 2 is the same thing as 2 plus 1, right? And then example B, 58 less a number n. Notice it doesn't say less than a number n. It says less a number n. So that means 58 minus n. Now, I have a question for you, and this is a yes or no. Would I be correct if I said or n minus 58? Would that be the same thing? No, right? So subtraction is not commutative, right? So I'm going to just cross that bad boy out. Taking away 58 is not the same thing as taking away n. Subtraction is not commutative. All right? So you guys try C and D. I'm going to give you about 45 seconds. Feel free to compare answers with folks around you. I'll probably have you, I'll call on you for volunteers today, but usually after I give you a work time, I call on random people just to see if you're with me. I won't do that since it's the first day, but that's why you like to compare answers. That's right. Hey, some yellows on me, okay? Just so you're ready. And if I give you work time and you do it wrong, that's fine. I would just say quickly mark it out and correct it. We don't really have time to erase and all that. We go pretty quick. All right, can I get a volunteer for C, 9 with an additional number? This is a little bit confusing, but what'd you do on that, Cameron? 9 plus X or 9 plus whatever variable you wanted to use. That's right. Very good. So we'll use Cameron's 9 plus X, or it could be X plus 9, right? Or any variable plus 9. Okay. Good job, Cameron. What about D? Can I get a volunteer on D? How about Mr. Connor? Ooh, good job. All right, so that one was a little bit tricky. I wouldn't have been surprised if our volunteer would have missed it there, but he got it right. The order is what matters there. So I want you to take a mental note there, the difference between less that we saw in B versus less than that we saw in D. So that's what affects the order. Less is different than less than, okay? So just little details there that can change it up. So in other words, 8 minus x would have been wrong. You would have scratched that out and corrected it to x minus 8. Okay? Everybody with me? Any questions before we move on? All right, moving on. Same thing here, just bringing in multiplication and division. So I'll do the first two. 8 times the number n. So somebody tell me why this is not what we want here. Yes. That's right. The multiplication symbol that I use there looks like an X. Really, you don't even want to use a dot. How do we really want to write that in algebra? Yes. Put them together, right? 8n. Okay, that's what you want to. That's what you want to do. Okay, so not this. We want to go 8n, not n8, right? That looks like n to the 8th power. So 8n. Okay, that's the easiest and best way to do that clearly. Did you all have a question over there, or were you just volunteering answers? Everybody good? Yeah. You could technically use parentheses, but that's just one of those things that why would you do more if you didn't have to, kind of thing. But technically not wrong. Okay. So good question. All right, and then B, the quotient. So that's division of a number n and 5. So that's going to be n over 5 is typically how we write that in algebra. Okay, instead of using an old school divided by symbol. Now, on the commutative thing, is 5 over n correct? No, just like subtraction, division is not commutative. So this would technically be wrong. Wrong-o, okay? All right, so you guys try C and D. I will call on somebody here, okay? So compare answers just in case you get called on. I want to always avoid the old deer in the headlights. So if I'm giving you time to work, then if I'm giving you time to work, then I expect you to be able to answer. Even if it's wrong, tell me what you got, and then we go from there. All right. How about Abby for C? The product of x and 15. 15x. Very good. Any questions on that one, anybody? All right. How about Leighton for D? The quotient of 9 and y. 9 over y. That's very good. So y over 9. If you had that, you had the right operation, but the wrong order. So you need to flip that around. So, and when it says the quotient of, the first number is the numerator, the second number is, or the second value is the denominator. Okay. Any questions before we move on? You guys are rocking it. All right. So I guess our next example is on the back side, it looks like. So now we're getting into multiple operations. What's wrong with my timer there? Okay, so let's do the first like 3 together, and then I'll have you guys try the next 3. Okay, so A says 3 more than twice a number x. So twice means times what? Times 2. So 2 times x, and then 3 more than, so 3 plus that, or I like to put the constant part at the end. So 2x plus 3, or of course we could have 3 plus 2x, which if you were working ahead of me, you probably wrote it that way because that's the order it's listed. But either is correct. Okay, either is correct. Example B, 9 less than, so that means take away 9, from the quotient of 6 and A, the quotient of 6 and A. So is that 6 over A or A over 6? 6 over A, very good. All right, so put it all together. We'd probably go 6 over A minus 9. 6 over A minus 9. This is a technical question, and we're not going to write it down, but if I wanted to write that constant first, like if I wanted to put the minus 9 first, how would that have to read? Like if I wanted to flip-flop these terms, what would it say then? Anybody know? Yeah? Yeah. Negative 9 plus 6 over 8. Okay, if we had it the other way, that'd be the difference. And then C, we have the product of 4 and the sum. Sorry, let me try that again. Some of these are just a mouthful. The product of 4 and the sum of a number, B and 7. So these are kind of subjective too. They get a little bit tricky, but who can tell me why that doesn't seem to be correct, or what I can add to that maybe to correct it even? Right. I need parentheses because with the wording, it kind of indicates that we're talking about the sum of these two, right? The way I have it written, that's the sum of 7 and 4 times B, right? It's not really worded that way. So if we want the sum of B and 7 together, we got to group them together with parentheses. That's right. So if it's weirdly worded and you get it wrong, think parentheses, okay? You guys try the next 3. Just do your best, and we'll go over them. We probably won't finish all of those last 3, so this will be, this will take us almost all the way there. And remember, you can and you are encouraged to compare answers with folks around you. If for no other reason, then you might get called on. Last year I was using that. There was like a random name puller in Power School, but it seems to be not so random. It seems to like the same kids. So I don't know. I'll try it for a little bit, but if you guys notice me just calling on the same people when I'm trying to call on random people, feel free to speak up if I don't notice it. And I don't know you guys that well, so if I call on somebody who's absent, just say not here and I'll go to the next one. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there before too long. All right, so looking at D, let me put a bell on that. Next class. Looking at D, 12 minus the product of Y and 6. Chase White, what'd you write down for that one? Okay. Danielle's not here. Jacob Bowling, what'd you write down for D? 12 minus Y over 6. So I'd say you did some good stuff, but can anybody correct that? So thank you for having something. No deer in the headlights. We're good. Yes. That's not the correction, but thank you for trying, though. 12 is actually positive here. Yes. Product is multiply. Okay, that would be the correction. So our last term there needs to be 6y. So the correct answer would be 12 minus 6y. Or technically, you could write negative 6y plus 12. All right. So everybody good with that? Any questions? Does that make sense? All right. Landon, what about E? 5 times the difference of 13 and x. All right. Well, try to talk to people around you. Kaylee, did you get anything there? Talk to people around you. Preston, anything for E? So just like 5 times 13x, like that. Okay, so that is incorrect, but thank you for having something. I appreciate it. Let's see. I think that is, yeah, Clay. Very good. Very good. All right, she said in parentheses would be 13 minus x, and outside would be 5. So that's 5 times 13 minus x. Okay, and you do need to have the parentheses. All right, so kind of hone in on those words. All right, difference means subtract. All right, and then example F, Jacob Kruger, 65 less than the quotient of R and 12. Or sorry, 65 less the quotient of R and 12. How'd I write that? All right, need a little bit quicker. Nolan? 65 minus R over 12. All right, that's it. Very good. 65 minus R over 12. R over 12 minus 65 would be wrong, so you would need to correct that, okay? If you had R over 12 minus 65, you would need to mark that out, okay? And it's good. It's good to try and make mistakes and then correct them. Sometimes that's the best way to learn. It's not all. It's kind of frustrating sometimes, but it's a good way to learn. It's good to see your mistakes on your page and know when you corrected them. Okay, instead of trying to erase it and make it all pretty. All right, because we don't have time for that. Everybody with me? Okay, let's just do like maybe 1 or 2 of these and then we'll call it a day, okay, in case you have any on your homework. So let's do an easy one and a hard one. Let's do A and C, and then we'll do volunteers here, and as soon as we get good answers for both, then we will have that much more time to do homework. So I'm going to get a volunteer for A. What's a way we could use words to write out A? Let's hear from Leighton. The quotient of y and 5. Leighton, I feel like I read that directly out of a math book. Nice job. All right. So then C. C is going to be a little bit trickier. So you might want to think about it for a second before you raise your hand. Might even want to write out what you think. And if you think it looks good, raise your hand. If you already have it, go ahead. Abby, what'd you get? Ooh, I like that. The difference of 5 and n multiplied by 2. I like that. That's not the only way to say that. You could have also said, Isaiah, 2 times the difference of 5 and n, right? Yeah, perfect. Yeah. All right, so if you guys want to see the rest of these worked out, so what I do is at the end of the day, anytime we do a lesson, and this is more for you guys who are following along at home, if you ever are, I will post this material at the end of the day. So it will have filled out notes, it'll have a video of the lesson, so you can go back and review. Before I post the assignment, I like to give you guys a break where you stand up and move around. So I want you to take a mandatory 3-minute break, and then I will post the homework at that point. Leighton, will you flip those switches up for me just real quick? I know you weren't headed that way, but I appreciate it. Appreciate you. Yeah, just do the sign out sheet for me.